We're learning so much about these species that we never learned before.
To be that close to a great white shark is incredibly humbling.
You beauty!
We went out and got the ultimate breach shot. It was unbelievable.
Bingo! That's a huge fish!
I love these animals as much now as I ever did.
We're inspiring people to care about sharks, love sharks.
Yeah!
Knowing that the public's all about sharks now, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Hughes, evening anchor at WBZ-TV in Boston, and I'm excited to welcome you to tonight's Stars of Shark Week presented by Discovery. This evening's virtual event is a fundraiser to benefit the nonprofit Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. And by joining us tonight, you are directly supporting the organization's shark research, education, and conservation efforts. Over the past 10 years, Cape Cod has become a white shark hotspot, giving researchers unprecedented access to these elusive predators in the North Atlantic.
Whoa, we got attacked! Oh, yeah!
With enormous public interest in the species, great white sharks are frequently featured in the local news.
A huge shark in the waters off the Cape.
I've personally had the opportunity to spend time on the water with the local research team to view these magnificent animals, and I can tell you it is awesome and thrilling. It's something I've dreamed about since I was a kid, and it really is one of the highlights of my career in Boston. Tonight, we are excited to bring you three of the biggest stars of Shark Week to share some of their favorite footage from their shows on Discovery Channel, the importance of shark conservation, and their connection to great white sharks off the coast of Cape Cod.
What many people don't realize is that sharks, just like all of us, have got unique personalities. Shark Week has given me incredible opportunities to not only see sharks around the world, but also learn different behaviors wherever we've gone. To be that close to a great white shark, whether in a cage or outside of a cage, is incredibly humbling. You know, you're in the water with a predator that could easily catch, kill, and bite you in half and swallow you pretty much in two pieces if it wanted to. And I wouldn't be lying if I didn't say it was pretty exciting too. The more you get to know your subject, the more you become comfortable with these animals. To be down there and have 4 or 5 great whites, at times all trying to knock me over, not because they were being aggressive, but just for them. They don't have hands, they were pushing me to see what I was. Being in the water with great whites without a cage by day is, I guess, for some people, pretty intimidating. But you really ratchet it up a couple of levels when you do it at night. I always try and console myself that whilst they might be around, they're probably just curious of me, and I don't have too much to worry about. And I think by bringing the animal to people who aren't lucky enough to live the life that I do, bring them the animal in a way that truly shows the beauty of it, you shape their perceptions of that animal in a way that's really positive. I hope that they don't only see them as awesome animals, but also animals that really are worth protecting. I look to try and include the most beautiful aspects of what the great white shark has in its canvas of different opportunities. A breaching great white shark is undoubtedly one of the most spectacular things in all of nature.
You beauty!
When you're at eye level looking up, the speed with which a breach happens is just mind-boggling. Swimming great white sharks are awesome, but flying great white sharks, well, that takes it to a whole different level of sub-zero cool. I've been lucky. I've almost felt like the 007 James Bond of sharks, with all the contraptions and gadgets and different styles of locomotion we've used. Working with Jeff Kerr, who's one of the leading cinematographers working on Shark Week, he's always looking up new ways to get novel angles and different shots of sharks breaching. Every few years, new technology comes along that allows us to pull back the veneer of secrecy surrounding these sharks, and it's kind of like a kid in a candy box. You discover new things, and it's another gee wow moment learning about these remarkable animals. can honestly say I love these animals as much now as I ever did, and I can't wait for the next invention that allows me to get close to them. So welcome, guys. It's a real privilege to be able to talk to you today about my passion, which is sharks, and to share some special moments as well. And a huge shout out to the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, who've given me the chance to speak to you today and share some of my amazing experiences. So over the years, I've been lucky to work with many different groups working with great whites around the world, and one of my absolute favorites is the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy and the amazing work that they're doing, because they're trying to bridge the gap between fear of sharks and trying to get people to better understand them. And it's a dynamic team of really dedicated individuals that are going out there and using a lot of novel ways of furthering our understanding. So the lessons that we're learning from the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy is that you don't necessarily have to do highly invasive research to learn about these animals. A lot of their work is purely observational work, where they're dunking GoPros in the water and just spending huge amounts of time on the ocean getting to know their subject. And I think what's also really important is to see how a team of dedicated and enthusiastic people has been able to produce a huge amount of research and further the knowledge of a community that beforehand was obviously frightened of these animals. It seems as though more and more people are becoming great white shark fans through exposure to these sharks, and also the research that's allowing us to understand more about them. My relationship with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy comes about through a gentleman called John King, who visited us in False Bay many years ago and became passionate about these animals and learning more about them. And at the same time, they suddenly started appearing in ever-increasing numbers off the northeast coast of the US. And John and a dedicated team started going out there and trying to catalogue the numbers of sharks that were occurring along the shores. And I was very privileged, along with my wife Monique, to visit Cape Cod just last year in October. And we had a truly stellar day where we saw up to 5 different great whites from John's boat, and also saw them from the air and saw them interacting in very shallow water with the seals that are obviously growing in number. But what was the most amazing thing was seeing how research is now bridging the gap between fear and understanding. And I think in regards to that, the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy is doing probably the best job of all white shark related research organizations in the world. It's a great example of how, by engaging with local communities rather than working away or against them, and bringing them into the research and having lectures and educational days for kids, just how we can further and broaden our knowledge of the sharks within a community, and also bring that community closer to the sharks themselves in a positive way. Through my images, I try and essentially do the same thing. I try and expose people to sharks in a beautiful way, and hopefully through that exposure, people become advocates and ambassadors for those sharks. So I believe one of the most important ways that young children can become involved and have a passion for working with sharks is to have exposure to them. And as a young guy in my late teens, I volunteered for a local research organization that at the time was taking people out to see sharks whilst they were tagging them. Pretty much like the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, in fact. And through having this exposure, I became passionate about learning more about these animals and wanting to work with them for a career. And that was really my starting point. And so my advice to any kids out there would be, go and volunteer for an organization working with these animals, be it your aquarium, be it somewhere like the White Shark Conservancy, or just try and do your little bit to get exposure to them. And once you've had that, if you're passionate enough and you work hard, doors always open. And as I said before, once you've started working with these sharks, it's pretty hard to stop. Not only are they animals capable of spectacular bursts of athleticism, jumping 10 foot clear of the water, but they're also incredibly vulnerable, and we need to treat them with respect. I think as individuals, we can all make a difference. Sharks are disappearing from our oceans very, very fast, but there are more people than ever that are interested in them. I think we can all be the groundswell of change to make sure that there's sharks there for the future generations to come. Well, thanks so much for joining. It's been a real privilege talking to you guys. And I can't wait for you to see some of the amazing new content coming out on this week's Shark Week, starting Sunday.
I actually became a filmmaker completely by mistake. The only thing that I've ever could think about, ever since I was small, every single day, has been great white sharks. It really warms my heart to realize that we're inspiring people to care about sharks, love sharks. My absolute favorite part of Shark Week is obviously sharks. My second most favorite part is the technology, the secret life of sharks. All these cool things that we can learn would be impossible without technology. The best way to study sharks and understand them is through cinematography, through cinema science. Great White Matrix required me to build this 30-camera GoPro rig, much like you would see in the movie The Matrix. And the whole idea was to try to wrap around a white shark as it was attacking something. It didn't go as well as I wished. We rebuilt it and we're still able to get some cool shots, which illustrates like the bite dynamics with a great white shark. I had seen him dozens and dozens of times on television tagging these sharks at the end of a boat on a pulpit, and I'm like, how does this guy do it?
That's a huge fish!
He is probably the most exciting shark scientist out there.
That was fantastic!
It was really special to tag a white shark, see a predation event, and just be in Cape Cod, like the home of Jaws, tagging white sharks with the world's top white shark expert up there. Being in South Africa, working on air Jaws, where we actually captured from a drone in super high resolution the ultimate kill of a great white shark hunting a Cape fur seal from start to finish.
Yes, yes, yes!
Oh my goodness.
He's got it.
He's got it.
It was unbelievable. Another crazy shot that we decided to get was actually a balloon breach with a Phantom super slow motion camera.
Let's get this thing up there, guys.
We put on a inflatable balloon, basically a big helium balloon, at the back of a boat in Cape Town, a place that they call the Cape of Storms. It was smashing around, the balloon hit the water. Amazingly, we didn't lose the camera. We went out and got the ultimate breach shot. One of the crazier things that I did for a Shark Week show, The Bride of Jaws,
This is scary.
they decided to hang me from a crane at the back of the boat so I could try to put this fin camera on, and it proved to be very challenging to the point where I actually fell in. But those are the kind of things that we're willing to do to get the job done. It was worth it.
Yeah! Nice work, man.
Contrary to what most people think, sharks don't want to eat us. I've had a few close calls, some super intense encounters, but the reality is if you don't overreact, you don't hype it up, you don't swim away, they will treat you with more respect. Literally my best dive of my entire life was in Australia during Shark Week with the two brothers. It was the most mind-blowing dive of my life.
Hey, check out these two!
They were checking me out, cruising like jet fighter pilots right past me. They never really expressed any aggression. White sharks during the daytime are intense enough, especially down in New Zealand.
Shark gets easier, it's all over, man.
And we've seen about 15 white sharks in the past 24 hours, and I know they're still around. So the night dive in New Zealand was, and still is, the sketchiest dive of my life. Now, that's one of my favorite things about Shark Week, going to these new locations where other people have not been and discovering new behaviors and diving with the coolest sharks in the world. I still can't believe that this is my real job. It is the best job in the world and the only job for me. What's up, guys? It's Andy Casagrande from Shark Week. I'm super excited to be here on behalf of the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. I wish we could be together, but there's way more dangerous things out there in the world right now than sharks. Over the years, I've worked all over the planet, but one of the most special places I've been is Cape Cod, working with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy with Greg Skomal, one of the most passionate, craziest, excitable shark scientists on the planet. Literally, the guy could be in a library and make it seem cool to study sharks.
Looking down at white sharks right now.
And going up there and seeing so many great white sharks, even at the very end of the season, was mind-blowing. We saw a predation event right under the boat.
Seals in his mouth.
Multiple seal and white shark encounters, like interactions. We pulled receivers. Watching Greg work was a dream. I've seen him on TV, but finally I could work side by side, and it was epic.
You got a shark? Okay.
Education, everybody knows, is critical for so many reasons, but in particular with great white sharks and sharks in general, the more you know about them, the safer you are, and the more you're gonna fall in love with them. The thing about coexisting with sharks, especially up in Cape Cod, it's it's a pretty tense situation. You have lots of white sharks that are there to feed. You got lots of, people that want to go in the water and recreate, and there's no perfect technology to allow us to coexist. Greg's research up there, tagging so many sharks, knowing their movements, knowing when they're coming, when they're going, it's critical to help us all, bathe safely, surf safely, hang out at the beach. At the end of the day, the sharks were there first, so they're not going to change their behavior. It's really up to us to do that. And Greg and the Conservancy is doing an amazing job helping us coexist. And when you use visuals and cinematography, I love to call it cinema science. It's like the perfect marriage, the perfect combination of cinematography and science that gets people super excited.
Coming super close. Oh, that was incredible.
As a kid, that's what I loved to watch on TV. I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I didn't really like all the book stuff. I love the visuals, so it's the perfect match, and I love teaming up with guys like Greg and the Conservancy, and it's critical. Education is the key to coexisting and keeping you safe. If there was one thing that I could teach people about great white sharks above all other things, is that from my experience, they're among the most polite predators on the planet. They have the worst reputation, yet their fatality numbers on humans is almost always in the single digits. If you use common sense and you work with research teams and you study what they're doing and you read publications, basic knowledge about these predators will keep you safer. So I'd say we stop demonizing sharks, learn more about them, learn to protect them, love them, and it'll just benefit the entire world, the entire ecosystem, and we'll be making more Shark Week films about them. Growing up as a kid watching sharks on television, now making films that kids watch on television, it's the most rewarding job on the planet. And every year that Shark Week goes on, their fans and the fan base around Shark Week gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and so does the protection for these species. Well, everybody, thank you very much for supporting the Conservancy, for watching Shark Week, supporting our films. Be sure to check out Shark Week starting on Sunday. It's gonna be epic.
Hi everyone, I'm Cynthia Wigren, the CEO and co-founder of the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, and I'm coming to you from our Shark Center in Chatham, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for being with us tonight for our first virtual event. Thank you to Discovery for your amazing support, and to Chris, Andy, and Greg for your time and participation in supporting the Conservancy's work. You're likely watching tonight because you love sharks and Shark Week as much as we do. But as a shark advocate, you know that white sharks are often misunderstood and misrepresented. The Atlantic White Shark Conservancy is working to change that by investing in research to learn more about the species and by educating the public to inspire shark conservation. Before I introduce our next star of Shark Week, I have exciting news to share with you. We've received $25,000 in matching pledges to support tonight's event, and that means that all donations will be matched dollar for dollar up to $25,000. We could not do the work that we do without your support. You can contribute today by texting to give to the number below or by donating through our event page. Research has been at the foundation of Atlantic White Shark Conservancy's work, and it's been a privilege to have spent the last 7 years supporting Greg Skomal's studies. Greg has been at the forefront of white shark research in the Northwest Atlantic. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Greg Skomal.
Well, my first real exposure to sharks was really through the movie Jaws. The way the shark is portrayed in the film is it's an evil monster, but I knew deep down that these were pretty complex creatures that I wanted to learn more about. Every time I work with Shark Week, I learn something new about a species of shark, whether it's bull sharks or white sharks. I have an amazing experience doing research and not only generating information about these animals, but also being able to share it with all of you. We're learning so much about these species that we never learned before because of the new technologies. It's really opening doors into the world of science and into the world of sharks, and I find that really exciting. We got this idea to develop this underwater drone system that we called SharkCam, to be able to track a shark underwater and film what it's doing when we can't see it. And a lot of us thought it would never work, to send a robot after a shark to see what it's doing. The first thing we did not anticipate is exactly what happened. We thought we would watch the predator eat the prey. We didn't think that the vehicle would become the prey. And that's exactly what happened. We began using the vehicle more and more, not only on white sharks, but then on bull sharks. And it started bringing back to us not only really cool information that you folks like to watch, but also real scientific information and real insights and a glimpse into the world of sharks when we can't see them. In every show I've ever done for Shark Week, I've tagged sharks, and I've been doing that for almost 40 years. I probably have tagged somewhere between, 600 and 1,000 sharks over the course of that time. In doing so, we've learned a real lot. We want to know how they behave and what they do over multiple time scales. And for me, putting a tag on a shark is a really exciting experience because I'm interacting directly with that animal. Being on the boat is fun, it's riveting, anything can happen.
Yes, yes, got it on, yes.
But then getting data back from the tags is almost equally as rewarding. For every little bit we learn, other questions come at us. Any day that I go on the water, we're trying to generate new information about these animals. I think one of my favorite moments is, we tend to think of white sharks as being spastic, crazy animals that are always trying to eat things. And, that's kind of how we portray them. But they spend a lot of time just mellowing out. We know that almost every vertebrate animal on Earth needs to rest. And perhaps this was our first insights into how white sharks do that. And that was pretty exciting. I love to work with Shark Week because they support the science. It allows scientists like me to talk to you and to share my, the science so that you learn something that's cool and exciting about these animals. What I love about working with sharks is working, close to them. Sometimes getting up close and personal, I get a little bit more than I bargained for. In 2010, I had my first experience in the water with a great white shark, shark we named Curly. Suddenly, the shark came out of nowhere from behind us and very casually came up close to the cage and then drifted over the top and tried to actually eat one of the big inflatable balls that was holding the cage up. Fortunately, Curly became untangled and moved on, and I was able to get out of the water and take a breath. But definitely, I often refer to it as one of the high anxiety moments of my life. Working down in the Bahamas, in Bimini in particular, which is just a, mecca for shark research, was an incredibly riveting experience. So we were working with bull sharks with Dr. Sam Gruber down there, Doc, and up close and personal with a bull shark. And the one thing you don't want to do is get complacent, because bull sharks have such a terrible reputation, even though they're incredibly beautiful animals, and the likelihood of being bitten by one is so low. But nonetheless, I think I got pretty close that time. But I gotta be honest, every now and then I have to pinch myself, because there I was, like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, watching the movie Jaws, hoping to be, a Matt Hooper-like figure. And I get to do that, and being able to share that through Shark Week, and having the support of viewers, and knowing that the public's all about sharks now, I think we're making some progress. So, I love it. I absolutely love it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my basement. I wish we could be here in person, but we can't. Hopefully someday soon. I want to thank Discovery Channel and Shark Week for making this happen, and their support of the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, your support for the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, and therefore our research. In 1987, I started working for the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries, and I established the Shark Research Program. And over a lot of those early years, right up until, 2005, 2008, I studied a lot of different New England shark species, generating all kinds of funds from grants and using in-house money. But, raising funds to do research has always been a struggle for scientists. And for our white shark research in particular, when we started doing it in 2010, we realized over the course of the next few years that we didn't have enough money to really get things done. Then the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy was established, and for a lot of the white shark research we are doing today, and I'll tell you, it is cutting-edge research, some of which is not being done anywhere else in the world. That is being supported by the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. We wouldn't be pushing the science as far as we are pushing it now without the Conservancy. That's the bottom line. Here off Cape Cod, we've got white sharks really close to shore, trying to do what they do naturally, and that is feed on their prey, the seals. And these are gray seals. And all of this is happening very close to the shoreline, and sometimes a lot closer than people want. And these are also areas that are populated by folks going to the beach who may be surfing, paddleboarding, boogie boarding, and that creates the potential for negative interactions between these white sharks and people. Potential is really low, the probability is really low, but it has happened. And so the information we're trying to generate now is to try to get data that will allow us to give public safety officials and the general public advice on where, when, how you might want to conduct activities close to shore in or around the water. So everything we're doing now in terms of our research is generating the kinds of information that'll tell us about the nearshore behavior of white sharks around Cape Cod. If we can find patterns in that behavior, that will allow us to forecast where sharks are likely to be hunting, and knowing that, giving it to the public, will allow them to make wise decisions about how they want to use the shoreline. So that's what we're really focused on right now, and I think it's important. We tend to think of sharks in general, and specifically great white sharks, as being, consumers of human beings, man-eaters. And that's certainly how they were portrayed when I was a kid, and Hollywood still does that to some extent. But they're far more complex animals than we ever thought. And the more we study them, the more we're learning about their complexity. And studying them can be extremely difficult, because every time you think you figured something out, they do something very different. If you remove those top predators, you've struck an imbalance. You've disrupted the equilibrium of the marine ecosystem, and that's not good. We need a well-balanced ecosystem. We need our top predators. And so sharks are, not only really cool to look at, and they're phenomenal animals to study. We all love Shark Week, but realize that they're critical pieces of the puzzle that we call the ocean, so we need to keep them around. Well, everybody, thank you all for visiting. Please watch Shark Week, which starts this Sunday. And you could support our research as well by supporting the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. I really appreciate you visiting. It's been fun, and I hope next time we get to do it in person.
Thank you again for joining us this evening. It's been fun to gather shark fans together to hear from some of the biggest stars of Shark Week. You can continue to follow and support the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy's work through their website, social media channels, and by downloading their Sharktivity app. Be sure to tune into Shark Week starting this Sunday to see tonight's stars in action. Thank you and good night.
We know what you need right now.
Look at that.
Shark Week is back.
Right below you. Right below you.
I'm like shaking right now.
White shark!
Big shark, oceanic whitetail.
I got one, Dad! We got one!
With Mike Tyson.
You got too much muscle, Mike. No, the suit is too small.
Watch out! Hold on.
Will Smith.
I want to confront my fear of sharks.
The voice of Snoop Dogg. Plus Adam Devine and Shaq are back for more.
I always told him I want to do something epic. This is epic.
There are no humans on the ocean. Sharks are behaving differently.
We've been able to track the sharks.
This tag is revolutionary.
We're getting video data. We're getting temperature. We're getting depth.
This is the most perfectly designed predator.
What the hell just happened?
Shark Week, the one and only, starts Sunday at 8 on Discovery.